and assalamu alaikum, family. This is your brother Malcolm Flex TV, and this is Changing the Black Narrative. Thank you for tuning in for episode 2 of Changing the Black Narrative. This is your host, Malcolm Flex TV. And you can also find me on Instagram, Twitter, at Malcolm Flex TV, and also on YouTube. And you can also check me out on Nationtown TV on our sister channel with my dear brother Landon X Collins and sister Shauna X Joy. So, and thank you for tuning in. This is Changing the Black Narrative. And this show today is dedicated to the most recent news of the U.S. airstrikes against Iran. Okay? So this is some of the most recent news that has been taking place. You know, and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has been keeping us up to date on this information in regards to Iran. So here's a newspaper article from the Wall Street Journal. And this newspaper article is titled, U.S. Strikes Shiite Militia Targets in Iraq and Syria. Okay, and I will read some of this article, and I will also post a link for you so you can read it yourself. The operation against Iran-backed Kataib Hezbollah comes in retaliation for attack targeting Iraqi military base that killed a U.S. contractor, wounded 4 troops. The U.S. carried out airstrikes against an Iranian-backed Shiite militia group in Iraq and Syria, in the Trump administration's most forceful response to Tehran's assertive posture in the region. The Pentagon says Sunday's attack targeted 3 of the Kataib Hezbollah militias locations in Iraq and 2 in Syria, including weapons storage and command facilities. Officials said the strikes came in response to an attack on Friday in which more than 30 rockets were fired at an Iraqi military base near Kirkuk, killing a U.S. contractor. This retaliatory attack took place in Iraq, okay, because a Shiite group called Hezbollah attacked them first. But you would believe that initial story if you didn't know who Hezbollah was and what their purpose in Iraq was for. So if you don't even know why they are over there, then naturally you're going to think that America was in Iraq. But let me help you understand who Hezbollah is. Hezbollah is not only just a Shiite Muslim group, Hezbollah is also a Christian group. That's right. Shiite Muslims and Christians both came together and formed a group called Hezbollah to fight against ISIS, which is a known terrorist organization. But this proposes a potential problem for Iraq because 8 months ago, there was an analyst that came on the news who said that the Iraqi government did not want American soldiers and Iranian soldiers to fight on their land, okay, on their soil. So let me play this clip for you.
Trina, what about the impact on neighboring countries, especially Iraq and Syria, where effectively the Revolutionary Guard functioned, were in effect working together with the United States against ISIS?
Yes, so in Iraq, for instance, the IRGC and the Iranians were, according to the Iraqis, the first ones to arrive, the first ones to send in ammunition and help in order to defeat ISIS. And according to the Iraqi defense minister, had it not been for Iran, Baghdad likely would have fallen to ISIS. And then, because this was during the Obama administration, the Iranians and the Americans coordinated through the Iraqis how they were jointly defeating and fighting back against ISIS. That type of an opportunity for collaboration obviously now is closed off as a result of this designation. Moreover, this is putting a tremendous amount of pressure on Iraq. Iraq is already in a very delicate situation. The country has been severely destabilized as a result of the invasion, and they are stuck between the United States and Iran. They need the Iranians for a whole set of different things, and most importantly, they want to avoid becoming an arena in which the United States and Iran fight each other on Iraqi soil. So they're really a drive-by shooting victim in all of this. And this designation makes it even more difficult for them because many of the companies and many of the entities that they're working with in Iran are one way or another connected to the IRGC. And I think this is an important thing to keep in mind.
So tensions were already high in Iraq between Iranian soldiers and American soldiers. But Iraq stated that the Iranian Revolutionary Guard was the first people on the scene to help Iraq fight against the ISIS invasion. And former President Barack Obama was able to facilitate a peace agreement with Iran so they can assist Iraq in the ISIS invasion. But the Trump administration had did away with everything that President Barack Obama had already issued forth. So the tensions that were already high had worsened as soon as President Donald Trump had taken office. So now, in recent headlines and recent news, that there has been bloodshed between Iranians and American soldiers, okay? But they're saying that they are just targeting Hezbollah, which is a separate group from the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, but America's government under the Trump administration had already labeled the Iranian Revolutionary Guard as a terrorist group, which is the first this has been done, the first time this has ever been done in history. Okay? So, but there has been one man that has been among us trying to warn us and trying to warn America to stop trying to bully Iran, and it would be a suicide mission to even try to go into Iran. And I'm speaking of none other than our leader and teacher, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So here is our clip from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Assalamu alaikum. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I am begging our president and the government that supports him to be very, very careful, because if the trigger of war in the Middle East is pulled by you using your surrogates at the insistence of Israel, then the war will trigger another kind of war which will bring China, Russia, all of the nations into a war. And it bothers me to say this to you, Mr. President, but the war will end America as you know it. Our affairs in the person. So when these Iranians chant death to America, death to Israel, no chant can bring about your death, but it is your policies that are eroding trust for you in the world, favor for you in the world. And now you're pulling apart, confused. And if you do this, you will bring about, not the Iranian chant, you will bring about the death of the greatest nation. Process of being resurrected from a mental. I know that chant came from the people of Iran, and this sanction is what's hurting the people of Iran. They have a right to chant it, but I am not a chanter. I am a worker for God, and the truth will undo falsehood, and the righteous will win against the wicked, not with a chant.
Death to the United States is not a slogan chanted by the Iranian government.
In America, they said that they gave Iran billions of dollars, but they never said that they were holding over $150 billion of Iranian money, and they were supposed to give it back during the treaty arrangement. But has Iran gotten that money back yet? Can anybody answer that question for me? Love with one another. I want to warn you. You speak as the foolish. America is mine. America is ours. Our sweat and our blood built America. How dare you say that we have no place there? How dare you say that we cannot criticize your evil and point it out to you? I am more of a patriot than most of you who bow down to evil, and it is only truth that will make America better. And I speak that truth, and I will be back in America to speak it again.
The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has been trying to facilitate peace in the Middle East. But what has been taking place by Israel and Benjamin Netanyahu is they have been trying to get America to do their bidding for them because they want to be the only nuclear power in the Middle East. So they are coming up with a lot of bogus sanctions against Iran because Iran just wants to defend themselves, which they have a right to do. But there are some foolish people trying to tell the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan to stay in Iran and to not come back to America, but because he's a traitor. Well, they had to think again on that because the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is the man of God and he is a fearless man. Check this video out.
America's about to go to war. And when she goes to war, she wants black and brown bodies. Now you're useful. They don't give a doggone about how black lives matter until they want to use black lives to accomplish their wicked ends. They're trying to provoke Iran. I would like to say to the President, Mr. President, it would not be a wise move for you because you're already $23 trillion in debt and you don't have any money to prosecute a war. So if you don't have the money to prosecute a war, the Federal Reserve is printing money every day. So you will have to come to the Federal Reserve to borrow money that you don't have to prosecute a war in a time when any little thing could cause the dollar to fall and the stocks to fall.
So, according to the Holy Quran, it requires of the Muslims to never be the aggressor. And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is trying to be a facilitator of peace between America and Iran and Saudi Arabia. And because there are two major factions within Islam within these countries. Because in Iran, you have the majority of Shiite Muslims. In Saudi Arabia, you have the majority of Sunni Muslims. So over in the Middle East, you have Muslims killing Muslims. And Muslims taking side with Western and European powers against their own Muslim brethren, helping out America and Israel when America and Israel are guilty of murdering and assassinating Iranian nuclear scientists. But the Holy Quran is clear and gives clear guidance to the Muslims. The rules of engagement. In Surah 2, Ayat 190, Allah says, "You may fight in the cause of God against those who attack you, but do not aggress. God does not love the aggressors. You may kill those who wage war against you, and you may evict them whence they evict you. Oppression is worse than murder. Do not fight them at the sacred masjid unless they attack you therein. If they attack you, you may kill them. This is just retribution for those disbelievers. If they refrain, then God is forgiver, most merciful. You may also fight them to eliminate oppression and to worship God freely. If they refrain, you shall not aggress. Aggression is permitted only against the aggressors." And if you think that I may be biased, then here's a few more verses in the Holy Quran to let you know that Muslims are generally peaceful people. And anyone that's doing anything terroristic, they are not Muslims. In the Holy Quran, Ayat 5, Surah 5, Ayat 87. "O you who believe, do not prohibit good things that are made lawful by God, and do not aggress. God dislikes the aggressors." Surah 8, Ayat 61. "If they resort to peace, so shall you, and put your trust in God. He is the hearer, the omniscient." Surah 4, Ayat 90. "If they leave you alone, refrain from fighting you, and offer you peace, then God gives you no excuse to fight them." So, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan again is trying to facilitate peace between both nations and also within the Muslim community. So we ask our people to wake up, support the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Final Call newspaper. Because in 1942, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad spoke out against the war, and he was arrested for speaking out against the war. So we ask those of you who are courageous and who are lovers of truth to spread this truth, spread this knowledge fearlessly, and support your Nation of Islam and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. This is your brother Malcolm Flex TV, and this is Changing the Black Narrative.